I hate to say it, but you might regret buying a house this year.
Are you, serious?
There are so many variables that are going on right now with this housing market, with the real estate industry, with that NAR settlement. It's creating a big challenge for people, and it could become very costly. So you just might regret buying a house this year. I bet you never thought you'd have a realtor tell you that you shouldn't buy a house, yet here you are. Now, most real estate agents, they will tell you, go buy real estate, prices are going up, buy real estate and wait. Yeah, look, I get that. I totally get it. I agree. Real estate is like the best investment for the long term. But in this current economic climate and everything that's going on in this industry, I think people are going to regret buying a home this year. So we're going to talk about that never-ending issue of the lack of inventory, mortgage rates, the risk of buying in an overvalued market, and I'm going to touch on that settlement with the National Association of Realtors. And I'm going to deep dive into those variables and tell you exactly what's going on and why you might regret it. Let's get started. The lack of inventory. The lack of inventory has been going on for the past few years. There are just not enough homes, too many buyers, and that's what's been driving the prices up. Now, if you want to get into this market and you're up for the competition, have at it. But I will tell you, it's extremely challenging. Homes here in New Jersey, I'm not kidding you, in northern New Jersey are selling for 6 figures over asking price. Look at these examples right here of what these homes sold for just in the past few months here in New Jersey. It's out of control because there's nothing for sale here. The other issue with these bidding wars, forget about overpaying, they are waiving appraisals. So if you have the funds to cover the appraisal gap, say if the house appraises at a much lower value than what the purchase price is, you have to come up with the gap to cover that. Home sellers these days, they want to know that you're going to cover that gap. If you're not waiving appraisals, they don't want to hear from you. They don't. At least that's what's going on in this market. Let me know how it is where you are. If you're in a different market, in a different part of the country, are you still seeing that going on? Or have you experienced that when you're trying to buy a house? Because here in New Jersey, oh no. The sellers want to know you have the funds to cover that gap should the house under appraise. The other thing people are back to again is waiving inspections. Why? I thought we were past all of that, but yeah, here we are. We're back to waiving inspections. Big no-no, big risk. I never recommend it to my clients. I would never do that. So if you're going to be buying and you're in this situation where you're in a bidding war, you have to waive the appraisal, you're overbidding, you're waiving inspections, you're going to regret it. You're going to regret it. You're going to be kicking yourself, especially if you waive those inspections and you walk into your house after closing and things start to go wrong. Yeah, had you spent that, $600-700 on the inspection to find problems, yeah, you would have saved yourself a lot of money. So don't waive those inspections. I don't recommend that. Now let's talk about those interest rates. Beginning of this year, it was said that the feds were going to reduce the federal interest rate, 2 or 3 times. They were talking about they were going to start bringing them back down. They had raised them over the last 2 years because of inflation, what have you. The last time the feds met was just a mere few weeks ago. They put a pause on that. They didn't drop the interest rates because inflation was just over 3%. So now here we are. Mortgage rates went back up again. Mortgage rates were 7.5%. I saw one day they went as high as 7.8%. And talking to my lender partners, they're telling me expect to see 8% mortgage rates probably over the next couple of months into the summer. We hadn't seen 8% since last October. Now, I know those of you who bought homes in the 80s and you paid your 18% interest rate, you're still saying that's a bargain. Totally get that. We're in a different time right now. We've had low interest rates for years. For years. I bought my house 12 years ago. My mortgage interest rate was 3.75%. People have these sub 4% interest rates for a long time. So now it's double that, or in some cases more than double. It's very challenging. If you had to buy this year and the rates say hit 8%, you can buy points to reduce that rate. That does get a little costly, but if you're in a situation you have to get into a house, that may be something you would have to look into. Now, the other thing you can consider is refinancing, but do your homework on that. Talk to your lender to see if there's any restrictions as to how soon you can refinance. Because if, say, next year the rates come back down, could you potentially refinance? Now, I will tell you, it's going to cost you again. You're going to have to pay fees to refinance your loan So you got to take that into consideration also. So these interest rates, guys, I don't think they're going to go down by much by the end of this year. There were a lot of experts in the beginning of the year. I did a video a while back about talking about what the analysts were predicting for this year. And a lot of them said, like, some said they'll still be around 7. A lot of them said they'll be in the 6s, which could still possibly happen. But at the rate we're going right now, I don't know if they're going to come back down. And here's the other issue. And I understand what the feds are doing. I think there's fear that if they reduce the rates too much, it's going to bring a flurry of buyers back into the market and it's going to jack the house prices up even more than where they are now. So I can see why they're putting that pause on there. But I think it's just been very disappointing for a lot of people because beginning of the year, there was this expectation that these rates were going to come back down and it's not happening. And be prepared, they could be going up to 8% in the next month or so. Now, another reason you could regret is the risk of overpaying, buying in an overvalued market. Now, as I just told you, here in Jersey, these homes are selling for like ridiculous amounts of money. The biggest concern with their home buyers is they don't want to overpay. And there is a risk. There's a big risk with that. So say you bought the house today for $700,000 and the market could take a turn. It could take a turn next year. And now your house is worth, say, $500,000 or $400,000. Before we panic and think like, oh my God, I'm going to go into foreclosure. If you're not going anywhere and you have a job, you're still able to make that mortgage payment. That's okay. You just sit there, stay in the house. It's fine. The housing market will always rebound. It does. Over the years, we've seen dips in the housing market and it always goes back up. Remember, buying real estate, it's a long-term investment. So if you're buying a home, you need to be in the house for at least 5 to 7 years in order for you to get some equity into the house, pay that mortgage down, and then the market rises, and then you're going to make money on it when you go to sell it. But if you're into buying a house right now and just only to sell it in the next couple of years, that's not such a good idea. I wouldn't be doing that. The other thing you have to consider too, this is also another risk. Say you bought a house with the 8% mortgage rate and you want to refinance next year. If the market takes a turn and the value of your property goes down, that's going to be challenging for you to refinance because now your house is worth less than what you owe. That is another big risk too. So just think about that. And that's another reason why you might regret buying a house this year. Look, nobody can predict the real estate market. No one can predict the stock market, right? Everything is a risk. So you can do your homework. You can research everything, look at all the data, but you just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We could have a major economic crash tomorrow and things blow up, but it's no reason to panic. Okay. So if you had to buy, if you even bought a house last year and things take a turn, you have a job, you're able to afford the mortgage, you're making your mortgage payment, it's okay. Wait it out. Don't feel like, oh my God, I have to go sell my house. No, don't do that. Just wait it out. Now, if you happen to lose your job and you can't make that payment, I would do what you can to stay in the house and work with your lender about doing some type of forbearance, or you could do a loan modification. There are ways around that. If you're going to turn around and try to do a short sale, you're going to lose a lot of money. Getting into the settlement with the National Association of Realtors. Now, this topic has been all over the news. And if you've been living under a rock and you don't know about it, what happened is that this settlement is now saying that homeowners who hire a real estate agent to sell their home do not have to pay the buyer's real estate agent their compensation. So what's going to happen is now buyers are going to have to sign a buyer broker agreement with their real estate agent. It's going to be setting a fee for you to pay your buyer agent if that home seller is not going to be willing to pay the compensation to your agent. This settlement is sitting in the federal courts, and apparently they're making that decision in July. If it was me, I would wait this out. If I don't have to buy right now, I think I would wait this out to see how this whole thing is going to shake out. Don't know what the federal courts are going to come back with. If they're going to change things to say that buyer's agents are only allowed to charge a certain amount to their clients, there could be a lot of changes that come about with this. If you could buy now before July, great. But I think if you go later into this year, you might regret this. By waiting it out, we will know exactly what the stipulations are, what's going to be required of what agents are going to be allowed to charge. It could be a percentage, like say 2%. It could be a flat fee. I'm going to give you this little bit of advice right now. When that time comes, you're going to be signing a buyer broker agreement with your agent. Find out exactly what they're doing for you. So say if they're going to say, oh, pay me a flat fee of like $2,000. Okay, what are you getting for that $2,000? Are they just going to go and open doors for you and maybe write a contract for you and then you're on your own for the rest of it? You got to go and negotiate the deal yourself with the seller? Or are they going to be a full service agent? Find out exactly what they're doing. because you get what you pay for. So if you're going to pay a cheaper fee, you expect to not get the service that you need when you're going to be buying your home. Now, I also want to mention something too. I see this online all over the place where journalists are saying, come July, the sellers are not going to be able to pay the buyer agent fee. Yes, they are. Sellers will still be able to have that option if they'd like to help the buyer out and pay for their buyer agent. It's still possible, and that is negotiable. So let's say the seller decides, like, you know what? I'll pay 1% of the buyer agent fee. And say if your agreement said you're going to pay 2%, then your buyer agent may say, you still owe me the 1%. So there are going to be ways around this, but we're not going to know like really anything until July. And then this could still take to the end of the year or even beyond before all of this shakes out, before we really know how this is going to impact buyers. And the reason I stress this heavily is because you're going to need to put money aside to pay for your agent. So if you don't have to buy this year, wait to see how this is all going to play out, because not only are you saving for your down payment, your closing costs, you're going to potentially have to save to pay for your agent. So hold out if you can. So a little bonus here for you, bonus tips. So what do we do for waiting right now? If I'm telling you you're going to regret buying a house, what do you do then while you're waiting? Well, number one, if you're renting, continue to rent. I know in a lot of markets, rents are coming down. Some are not. Some are still getting more expensive. But if you can rent temporarily, I highly recommend doing that. The next thing I would do, focus on paying down your debt. If you have any credit card, car loans, student loans, get rid of it or pay down as much as you can, because that's only going to benefit for you when you go to qualify for the loan. And it will also help you get a better interest rate, the better credit that you have. Another thing you can do with saving your money, make your money work for you. Invest your money into securities, put it into a CD. Interest rates right now are pretty good on those. So if you have some money, you can stockpile it away into a CD or treasury securities. I would seriously consider doing that. Talk to a financial advisor, financial planner about those options. I am not one of those. No, never claimed to be. Talk to an expert in that field to find out what the best options are. Make your money work for you right now to really build up the savings, and then also continue to save. I know times are tough right now. Economy's tough, but take this opportunity, if you're not going to be buying, to go and try and save as much as you can and invest it wisely to get the most for your money. I'm sure you're shocked that I'm telling you this, that you're going to regret buying a house, but I really hope that this information helps you if you've been on the fence about buying a house this year. And if you want to know why 90% of home buyers regretted buying their homes over the last few years, I highly recommend you check out this video. It's got some good stuff in there. Thank you so much for watching me today to get your dose of real estate reality. My name is Jackie Baker, and I will see you next time.